Second conditional. We still talk about future events with second conditional. The difference is that this time, we talk about events that are impossible to happen. With first conditional, we talk about events that are possible to happen. Like the first conditional, second conditional has two clauses. We have the if clause and the result clause, which is also the main clause. If you can still remember with the first conditional, we used present simple in the if clause. With second conditional, we follow the pattern if plus the verb in simple past. For the result clause in first conditional, we followed the pattern will plus the verb in base form. This time it should be would plus the verb in base form. Example: if I were rich, I would travel around the world. The current situation of the speaker is far from being rich, so this is not possible. The if clause here is if I were rich. We follow the pattern if plus the simple past were. The result clause is I would travel around the world. We follow the pattern would plus the base form travel. If the if clause comes first in the sentence, put a comma after it. If it comes at the end, then a comma is not necessary. Example: if I were rich, I would travel around the world. If you noticed, the if clause if I were rich comes first in this sentence. That's why a comma is put after it. I would travel around the world if I were rich. This time, the if clause if I were rich is found at the end of the sentence. That's why we didn't put a comma. Another example: if I were you, I would buy a car. The if clause here is if I were you. The main clause is I would buy a car. If she were a boy, she would be a carpenter. The if clause is if she were a boy. She would be a carpenter is our main clause. The be verb were is used for plural subject, but if you've noticed, we used were even though the subject is singular. If I were you, I would buy a car. If she were a boy, she would be a carpenter. Why do you think so? Well, this is because were can be used for all persons in the if clause. We can say if he were, I were, or she were. Another example: if I had a younger sister, I would love her so much. The if clause here is if I had a younger sister. I would love her so much is the result clause. If I had enough money, I would study in a culinary school. If I had enough money is the if clause. I would study in a culinary school is the result clause. For our exercise, correct the given sentences and make second conditional sentences. The first one: if I will have a son, he will be the most important person in my life. The answer is, if I had a son, he would be the most important person in my life. If you've noticed, the if clause is in the future simple. We need to change it into simple past. If I had a son. The result clause used will as its auxiliary verb, but this is second conditional, so we need to use would. He would be the most important person in my life. second one. If Mom attends my graduation, I will be the happiest girl in the world. The answer is, if Mom attended my graduation, I would be the happiest girl in the world. The if clause, if Mom attends my graduation, is in the simple present. We change it into simple past, making it, if Mom attended my graduation. The result clause, I will be the happiest girl in the world, used will. That's why we needed to change it into would. The third one, if I am in your shoes, I won't do that. The answer is, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't do that. If I am in your shoes is in the present simple. We need to change it into simple past. If I were in your shoes. Won't is the contraction of will not. We need to change it into wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. The fourth one, if I was living in Paris. I haven't got tired of visiting the Eiffel Tower. The answer is, if I lived in Paris, I wouldn't get tired of visiting the Eiffel Tower. The if clause, if I was living, is in the past continuous. We need to change it into simple past. If I lived in Paris. The result clause, I haven't got tired of visiting the Eiffel Tower, is in the present perfect. We need to change it into the pattern would plus the verb in base form. I wouldn't get tired of visiting the Eiffel Tower. And the last one, if she saw Tom Cruise, she would get his autograph. The correct answer is, if she saw Tom Cruise, she would get his autograph. The if clause, if she saw Tom Cruise, and the result clause, she would get his autograph, are already correct, so there's no need to change it. Did you get him right?